Today I want to talk about what your ex thinks when they break up with you. Now, what's always interesting to me about this specific question isn't so much what they think, and I am going to get through what your ex thinks. In fact, I've divided it up into 7 main thoughts or phases that an ex will go through. But what's more interesting to me is how everyone else around you tends to handle the news of a breakup. If you're in a situation where you want your ex back, almost everyone around you is not very supportive of what you want. This is actually a phenomenon that you see a lot, even in the videos that I produce. You can sometimes go to the comments below them and see people saying things like, "Why would you ever want an ex back?" Or my personal favorite, "If a man wants to make you a priority in his life, he will, period." Now, what's fascinating to me about this kind of thinking is they're technically not wrong. I remember before I started this business, I was of the belief that an ex should always stay an ex. And it wasn't actually until I personally experienced a breakup and had a very close friend go through one that I really started believing, hey, maybe you shouldn't judge someone else's intentions until you walk a mile in their shoes. And I feel it kind of comes across a lot in these type of comments. Especially when you want to get your ex back, you'll go to a friend or a family member and tell them, hey, I found this program, or hey, I'm really thinking about trying to get my ex back. And they will do everything possible to prevent you from making that happen. They won't support you. So here's my ultimate point. If you find yourself in a situation where you want your ex back, yet everyone else around you is not very supportive, it's important to understand that they aren't living your life. Your unique experience after this breakup isn't abnormal. In fact, it's very common for a lot of people to come through our program and say, my friends and family, I can't really talk to them about this. We are trying to create a safe space for you so that you can talk to people who know what you're going through and can provide the necessary support so that you can heal from this breakup. Now, speaking of healing from the breakup, what is going on in your ex's head after they initiate a breakup from you? I was 18 years old when I went through my very first breakup. This was my first serious girlfriend. We dated for a total of about 9 months, and maybe only 2 of those months weren't plagued by fights. Oftentimes the fights would be something related to my own insecurity and also her interest in another guy. Ultimately, I broke up with her, and the experience that I had as I went through that breakup is going to be very helpful today as we go through it, as I open up and tell you exactly what I was thinking every step of the way. And in all, there were 7 main phases that I tended to go through as I went through this specific breakup. Phase number 1, I was shocked, genuinely shocked. Seems kind of like a weird thing to say. After all, I did initiate the breakup. But the breakup kind of happened in a really odd way, and I can honestly say that maybe for the next 2 or 3 days after I initiated this breakup, I was shocked. I didn't really know how to act. I wanted to think about it, but I didn't want to think about it. A part of me didn't regret the decision, and then I'd go from not regretting the decision to regretting the decision. In all, I was just shell-shocked, and I didn't really have a good handle on my own personal thoughts. I think that's a common theme for everyone, especially if you're the one to initiate a breakup. Even if the natural assumption would be that if you initiate the breakup, you're cool with just ending things forever. But my personal experience wasn't like that at all. I was just shocked. I didn't know how to react yet. Phase number 2, relief. After I got over my initial shell-shocked aspect of this breakup, I honestly felt relief. There was a reason that I initiated the breakup. Oftentimes, I felt plagued by the amount of fights, and I take responsibility for initiating a lot of those fights based on my own insecurity with her having a crush on another guy or liking another guy. In all, it just felt like a relief not to have to deal with those problems anymore. But the important thing is I wasn't really thinking about the incredible moments that our relationship had. I only focused on that one aspect of this breakup, where I was just relieved that I wasn't going to have to worry about sort of defending my honor anymore. I could just kind of move on, so to speak. But as is the case in many breakups, my emotional journey or emotional roller coaster journey was not over. Far from it. Phase number 3, distraction. So after I got through being shocked and the initial relief of, wow, I don't have to deal with that anymore, I did everything I possibly could to distract myself so I wasn't constantly thinking about my ex. And maybe this lasted for a month or so. I mean, a really long time, where I would distract myself by going out or hanging out with my best friend at the time, doing anything I could to get my mind off this breakup. I did not want to think about it. I pushed it away as much as possible. Now, my experience isn't going to be necessarily your ex's experience. It's always going to be unique, but I have found that this distraction phase was not very helpful at all. The more I would try to push my ex out of my head, the more I thought about her, the more something would occur to make me think about her. And then I think I would get angry or upset. At this time, her loyal friends were calling and prank calling me. We were still really immature and in high school, but they would call me up and prank call me, which only further reiterated my decision to have this breakup go down. Phase number 4, why can't I stop thinking about her? So after the distractions failed, pretty much the only thought that I had was, why can't I stop thinking about her? Why am I constantly thinking about her? Why am I always being reminded about her when I'm doing this and doing this and doing this? And it was really annoying to the point where I was just literally like almost rebelling about the fact of even trying to get this person back or wanting to get this person back, because I really don't think I was at a stage where I wanted her back yet. I was at a stage where I was demonizing every single aspect of the relationship. Again, I'm not thinking of the romantic, excellent, exciting moments. Maybe the only time I ever thought about them were when I would say things to her that almost insinuated that we were going to be together for the long run, and it made me feel like I was lying to her. So I felt a little bit of guilt from that, but then I would feel angry about the fact that she put me in a position to where I would have to break up with her, but then I would feel guilty because technically that's not staying together in the long. You get what I'm saying? You just go around and then round and around in your head, and eventually you just kind of put it away, and then you wake up the next day and it's there again. Phase number 5, romanticizing the past. Okay, so this is where most of the time regret kicks in. For me, this was about maybe 4 or 5 months after the breakup had occurred that I actually began to romanticize the past. Instead, when I realized that my obsessive thoughts about her weren't going away, and every time I would turn on social media like Facebook, I would see her posting a photo, or I'd be on the lookout like a hawk, I would begin to romanticize the past and really stop thinking about the negatives of the relationship and think about the positives of the relationship, which is always kind of a tricky thing, because if I'm really thinking back to that relationship, it was plagued with so many fights. There weren't as many positives to draw upon that I initially thought there were, but I did find them and I romanticized them. I thought about them constantly. And at this part, I started getting really upset about the fact that we had broken up, which of course led me to the next phase. Phase number 6, taking action. I met my girlfriend, or my very first girlfriend, when I was 18 years old. We were in high school, which meant that we were very immature and our relationship wasn't very strong, I guess you could say. Not to say that it wasn't strong in my mind at the time, but looking back, it was kind of like, oh, puppy love. But what's interesting about it is after I went through that roller coaster and sort of romanticizing the past, I got it in my head that I wanted her back. I remember exactly where I was when I had this thought because it was so strong. I was literally taking a shower and I thought to myself, I wonder if I could get her back. And it wasn't coming from a place of love, I think. It was coming from a place of, I really need to stop feeling and obsessing about her, and the only way I know that can happen is if I get her back. So I launched a plan to take action on getting her back. In high school, we had this routine where every single morning before anyone showed up, her mom would drop her off. She was a junior at the school and I was a senior at the school. So after I had graduated and went to college, I knew that she was in her senior year and that she would show up really early before any of the real students started trickling into the school. And so I launched this plan one night, and I remember just as clear as day, I launched this plan that I was going to go ahead of time. And I hadn't talked to her or seen her since, and I was just like, I'm just going to surprise her, and I'm just going to talk to her. I don't know if I'm going to beg for her back right there, but I'm just going to talk to her and let her know that I am thinking about her, and it does matter to me in some way, shape, or form. So I did it. I literally showed up early. No one is there. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm just going to wait around. I know she's going to get dropped off at this area of the school. I'm just going to wait in kind of the normal place I used to wait in. And I remember people started trickling in. Ever so subtly, it's like 6 a.m. in the morning, people just start trickling into school. As the more time goes on, more people start trickling in, and it got to the point where it's pretty much ready for the class to start. And I thought to myself, she's not coming, this routine changed. And I walked out. She never knew that I did this. I literally was waiting there for her to show up so that I could essentially try to open an olive branch. Obviously, we've learned a lot about that not being the correct way to try to get an ex back, but I was an 18-year-old kid at the time who was just graduating from high school and really had just lost his first real relationship ever. And it's after her not showing up and me leaving and her never knowing that I did this that I finally hit phase 7. Phase number 7, acceptance. This is where I get to the point of I'm never going to get her back and I just need to be okay with that. But it was more than that for me personally, because it was more a harsh wake-up call to realize that I needed to be better. That whenever I got into my next relationship, I needed to not be so insecure about my girlfriend talking to other guys. But what was really interesting is after I hit that acceptance phase, which was maybe I can't even remember, but it was a long time after the breakup, I started literally just doing what I advise everyone else to do, which is appear that you're outgrowing your ex. Post those things on social media, kind of move on. And what was interesting is I remember I was at my friend's house for a party one day, and he suddenly got a phone call and left, and he was gone for an hour. And he came back in and he said, "You're never going to believe who called me. It was your ex-girlfriend." And she was just basically crying on the phone because her current boyfriend that she had moved on to, she was comparing him to you and you treated her so much better. And she doesn't know how to handle it. You set such a high standard for her, and then her seeing all these social media things really made her regret not trying to fight to win you back. And it made me feel kind of good, but I was at that point accepted of the fact that, well, she's still got a boyfriend and I think I need to move on. And that was it. That was the last I ever heard about her since. I guess here's the point I want to make. When you go through a breakup, you are not going to think one specific thing. It's not going to be black and white. You're going to go through this gigantic roller coaster of emotions where sometimes you're going to want your ex back, other times you're not going to want them back, sometimes you want to forget about them, so other times you're not going to be able to forget about them. It's all part of the process of grieving and, weirdly enough, kind of going through our own acceptance phase. And what's interesting is that everyone has a unique experience. This was just my personal experience to show you insight into what men really think about when they initiate a breakup and how we do go through a grieving process too. And what's interesting about the story is I didn't want her back after I had initially broken up with her. It wasn't until I had regret and nostalgia about our time together that I thought to myself, hey, I wonder if I can get her back. Of course, my attempt failed miserably. She never showed up when I thought she would show up, and I just walked away because I remember thinking to myself, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. I'm not in high school anymore. Why am I trying to get a high school girl back, even if she is due to graduate next year? The point I'm trying to make is don't think there isn't a moment for most men who break up with you that they don't at least wonder what it's like to get back to you. And if you can time your strategy right, especially when you're trying to get them back, so that you're talking to them during that exact phase where they're having a lot of nostalgia about your past relationship together, well, that's where you start to see really good success. Hey there, I just want to say thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, make sure you take the Ex Recovery Chances quiz. It's a simple, free 2-minute quiz that's designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Now, all you have to do if you want to take the quiz is simply look in the description below this YouTube video and click the link you see there. We'll take you directly to the quiz where you can get your results and know what to do next. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. I'll see you next time.